Press. Yay. Awesome. 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 Listen, if you can't lay down and be quiet, you're going to have to go sit with Dad, okay? Go on. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Woohoo! And welcome to New Horizons Zoom training. For those of you that might not know me, I'm Wendy Hartman, and I do have a dog in the room who is making noise, so I may have to send him out. He wants something, I'm not quite sure what he wants, but you need to go lay down, bud. Yes, you do. You can't stand here and bother me. So I'm really glad that all of you are here. Looks like we got a great group tonight, and it looks like more people are adding as the minutes tick by. Also, Laura, just so you know, I have pressed record. I didn't forget. Woohoo!
I was here. Do you want me to take roll?
That would be awesome. Yes. Yes, that would be great. If you could, where your name is, if you could put what dog you have. If you have a dog, I'm assuming most of you do. So you just hover over the buttons up in the corner, and it'll give you the option to rename, and you'll rename and put your dog. Don't leave your name in there, but also put your dogs in there, please. Oh, I did it to the wrong. I didn't even do it to myself. I did it to somebody else. All right, rename. So I am. Let's see. Quinn.
So my last name is not Bissell/Thanos. I'm Laura, and Bissell and Thanos are the two dogs that Wendy and I are share raising.
So Laura, on my name, can you just see Quinn, or can you see all four?
Quinn, Wilson, Bissell, and then it's ...
Oh, ... Oh, huh. Well, Thanos is a ...
That's all right. I got him on mine.
Okay.
I can see all four. It just depends on how big your screen is.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Okay, so we are going to go ahead at 7:02, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We will do a few reminders, just things that we try to cover on a regular basis. For those of you maybe who can't join us every time, or maybe this is your first time. So if this is your first time on a Zoom training, welcome. We're glad you're here. We hope that you take something away tonight that you maybe didn't know before. And these Zoom trainings that I have found have been super helpful. One, just to connect with people and find out how your dogs are doing. And also because we only have one in-person training a month. And some of you who live far away from the Central Florida area sometimes obviously can't make those trainings. So these Zoom trainings are super helpful. One of the first thing I'd like to remind you of is if you have any medical issues with your dog, they've thrown up over and over again, they're acting lethargic, anything that you think is a concern, please call the office. Do not wait. Call the office and leave a message and call the emergency number. On that message is an emergency number. Call that and continue to call it. That doesn't mean you can't call your vet also, because you should have a vet available to you, but you definitely want to call the emergency number and let somebody know. Usually our director can direct you in the right direction. And she will let you know what to do, but you want to make sure that you're making that phone call. And that's really with a medical issue. So somebody recently had a dog vomit, but it was once. I think the dog had an upset tummy. No big deal. It's those times when they're doing it over and over again and you're like, oh my goodness, what's wrong with this dog? Then at that point, call New Horizons, call the emergency number, call your vet. Just don't leave it, because it can be something that we could handle probably. We just need to know about it. So that's the first thing. Excuse me 1 second. You are going to need to lay down. Come right now. Down. Come on. Down. All the way. Yep, that's it. Yes, good. Stay.
Oh, nice use of markers. Did you hear? Yes, good. Okay, just saying.
Yes. he sees a BALL. And that's what he wants. And he will stand and whine and whine and whine and give up eventually, because usually I don't give it to him when he's whining, but yes, that's what he sees. And he's got his, now he's laying at my feet, but he's got his eye on the ball. So I'm sure some of you can relate to that. The other thing that we try to remind raisers is to be sure that your dog is groomed when you take them out, especially the Goldens. The Labs might be a little bit easier just because their coat is easier to take care of. I find Bissell easier to take care of than the Goldens. He doesn't get all that matting behind his ears or under his belly. But we had a couple of dogs that got turned in last time who had some matting, and that was a concern. So we want to make sure, really dig into those ears. I mean, you really have to feel with your fingers. Sometimes mats can just start as little tiny balls of fur that you don't really notice. You think, oh, that's just thick fur, but it's really a mat. And then we don't take care of it right away, and then it grows into this big mat under their ear, or, you know, so we want to be careful. Also, be checking on their bellies and underneath that area, because a lot of our dogs have a lot of hair down there, especially our Goldens, and well, mostly our Goldens, yeah. And so we want to make sure that we're checking those areas, brushing them out, combing them out. We don't want
All four
shave our-
armpits.
What?
All four armpits.
Yes, yes, yes. We don't want you shaving the dogs. However, if there was a mat that you felt you couldn't get out underneath their legs, it would be okay to cut those out. But you really should try to take a comb and get them out with a comb first before you cut anything. Because that's one of the things we pride our dogs on, is especially the Goldens, obviously, that long flowy hair that they have. So the Labs are awfully cute, but they're luckier. They have kind of flatter hair, so we don't have to worry about them as much. We make sure that you're taking your dog out, or when you're taking your dog out, that they're clean, that they don't have, you know, like mud on them or poopy hanging on their hair in the back of their butt, or, you know, those things that we might not think about when they're at home, but as soon as we go out, it's something we need to think about. So just be aware of that. Just, you know, I'm sure everybody's keeping their dogs clean, and we may not smell them because they hang out with us a lot. We just get used to that. But when you go out and you're in a confined area, somebody else, so if you know your dog has a smell, be smelling their ears, looking in their ears, all those types of things. You notice any kind of redness, get them, you know, wait a couple, clean them out, wait a couple of days, but if the red continues, please get them to a vet and have that taken care of. We especially don't want our dogs sent into prison with ear issues. So if you can detect that beforehand and get it taken care of, that would be awesome. So that's grooming. Please make sure that you are securing your dog properly in your car. So wherever they sit, first of all, they should not be in the front seat. Whether they're 8 weeks old or 3 years old, your dog should not be in the front seat. The middle seat or the back is fine. It's preferred that you can tether them in with I've shown on here several times the leash that I use that hooks into the seatbelt, and then you hook it to the dog. If you just I've used a leash several times where you take the leash and you rope it around the seatbelt, just something that keeps them secure in the car. You know your vehicle, you know what's going to work best. Sometimes I take the collar part, the leash part, the buckle part of my leash, and I hook it in the back, and then I loop it through my dog's collar, and I'll secure it in there. So just so that you're aware of that they should be secured in your vehicle just in case something ever happened, especially those puppies. So when my pups are real small at first, sometimes I'll put a small crate in my vehicle, and they'll be carried in a crate at first, not always, but sometimes. But they definitely get secured in with my seatbelt. You know, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. So just be aware of that. Also, puppies should not be going out until they're 16 weeks, till they've had their shots. So you can take them in the car. You can take them, I don't mean out, I mean out like in a store, out in a store. Don't misquote me. So out in a store, they can go out, they can get in your car and go for a ride with you. They can go somewhere. If you're going to go sit outside somewhere, it's beautiful weather to do that. They can go sit outside. It's good to start exposing them when they're little, but we just do not want them in stores until they're 16 weeks old, 16 and above. So what is that? 4, 8, 12, 16, that's 4 months. So 4 months. At 4 months, go ahead, Laura.
Well, I was going to say that's because they've had all of their immunizations at that point. Before that, they are really susceptible to diseases that we can prevent just by not getting them in contact with where other dogs have been. Be careful when you're walking that they're not sniffing and licking in areas of high traffic where other dogs have been.
Yes, yes. And not allowing our dogs to sniff everywhere when you take them out, because our dogs are sniffers, especially the labs, and probably right behind them is the Goldens, but they should not be, your walk should not consist of them sniff everywhere. You give them a couple of minutes to sniff and then say, okay, that's it, let's go, move on. And then maybe a little ways down your walk, you give them a few more minutes, but do not allow them to sniff the entire time. Because what we're finding is some of our dogs who've maybe been allowed to do that, now they're older, getting ready to go in advanced training, and their noses are to the ground. So we're trying to prevent that. So this is not a command, but I will tell my dogs, head up. And if they pick their head up, then I will give them a treat, or I'll just praise them. I just try to get them to keep their head up off of the ground, just smelling everything, because it's all new. You have to, so there's a nice balance, and sometimes it's hard to find. If your dog is new to you, they're going to want to smell everything, because that's how they basically read the newspaper. Okay. That's your neighborhood. They're reading the newspaper. So they want to sniff everything. Maybe the first time you go out with your dog in your new neighborhood, you let them sniff quite a bit. But then after that, it should get less and less. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to let you sniff here, and then we're going to continue. It's just something that we'd really like you to be mindful of, because we're finding that some of our dogs just have their nose to the ground because nobody's ever told them they couldn't. And so now they think it's okay. So we're going to try and fix that on some of these new dogs coming up, and some of the older dogs who have had that issue. So does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
Just a quick housekeeping thing. Some of you, if you don't have the chat on, that's a good place where you can ask questions without having to talk. And some of you may have issues with your audio. The other thing is, you may see a note from me that asks you to tell me what dog you have. I'm not being nosy. I'm just trying to get the records complete. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, so you should have gotten February's newsletter. If you didn't, let us know in the chat if you've not received it. Lots of good information in the newsletter. We have all the Zooms for February, March, and April are listed in there. So if you get those in your calendar. And some doggy birthdays. Aw, Wilson is gonna, no, Hess is gonna, you forgot Hess, Laura. On February 16th, Hess is going to be 3.
Okay.
So, and Fender. Okay, so just go through that, maybe highlight some things. This is really helpful to have. Those of you that are in the area, in the Orlando area, we do a buddy break at Church in the Sun, which is in Orlando. It's off of John
Young Parkway.
Okay. And it's real quick. You don't have to be there long. I know a lot of you are not, but this is just for anybody who lives in the Orlando area and would like to do this. It's once a month. It's a Saturday morning. We show up at 10 o'clock. We hang out with kids who have disabilities. It's a respite for their parents. Their parents get to come, drop the kids off, and the parents get to go and have a break. And so we go with the dogs. The kids get to love on the dogs, lay on the floor with the dogs, and we stay about 40 minutes and then we're out. And that's what we do. And it's a wonderful experience for the dogs because of the noise, because of the bouncing balls, the music, all the things that go on. So if you're in our area, that's something that you could come to. If you're not in our area, but that sounds really interesting to you, check at your local church, because normally they're held at a church, not always, but normally. And local churches hold these buddy breaks through Nathaniel's Hope. And they're a wonderful thing to have your dog go to. You would have to call and explain to them your dog is a service dog in training. They're very well behaved. Would they be able to just come hang out? They may want a letter saying that it's a service dog in training from New Horizons. I'm sure we can get that provided for you. But buddy breaks are all over Florida. And it was started by a family whose son was born with a disability. And I think he died at 4 years old. And they wanted to do something in his memory. And so they have been doing this for a long, long time. And so our dogs have the availability at a church here in the area to go and have that exposure. So that's always listed on here for any of you who are wondering what that was.
And there'll be a little thing about it in the next newsletter too. So if you weren't here or you went, what did she say? It'll be in the March newsletter. One other thing I'm seeing that some of you are saying you couldn't open the newsletter. If you couldn't open it or didn't get it, let me put it in the chat and I'll try to get that to the folks that actually have some power over that. One thing about the newsletter too is the location of the Lake Mary City Park and where we're going to be. There is a map, and that map was not on the newsletter. So we'll be sure to post it before the 19th on the Friends Who Like New Horizons Facebook page. If you are not a part of that group, let us know and we'll see if we can't get you there as well. Okay?
Yeah. You have to be friends with myself or Laura or Etta.
I have no power there. Oh, maybe I do now.
I think you do now, yes. You at least
Okay.
are able to get a hold of somebody to, yes. So
right.
You would have
Correct.
to friend us, but the friends page is a really nice page to be a part of if you are on Facebook, because things get posted there, reminders and other things. So, yes, it's okay that your dog gets a bath at PetSmart. If you don't want to bathe them, absolutely bathe them at PetSmart. As long as they do a good job and they don't decide to cut them, trim them. Shampoo recommendations. I use either oatmeal or dish. What is it, Laura? We use Dawn Blue Dawn dish soap. So it just depends. Recently, Wilson got in the shower with me and I did it with part oatmeal and partly my own shampoo, just because I like the smell of my own shampoo. So I don't, it's really what you like and what you like the smell of, and that it gets them clean.
Okay, Wendy,
Yes.
There's a question about what age obedience training should begin and what specific type of obedience training should they be using.
So
you want to mention the Daytona Beach Dog Club?
Yeah, I think that question though, I think comes from people who are in Georgia, I believe. Anyway, so this is the deal. You want to start your own obedience training at home immediately. So that's where your handbook is going to come in helpful. If you picked up a puppy recently, this is your first time and you did not get a manual, please let us know. Please let us know. We'll get you a manual. In the manual is everything you need to know and probably didn't want to know. The manual has just been recently updated and every raiser should have a manual. So if you didn't get one, if you would put that in the chat as well, and we'll make note of that. So training should begin as soon as you get home, just from their name to sit happens to be one of the first commands I start teaching, just because it's easy, and I make them sit for their dinner and sit for their breakfast and sit for their lunch and whatever else. And I'll make them sit before they go in the crate. And so it's the basics. And I also make my dogs wait right from day one. So if you're new, one, get on the Facebook page, because if you go back a while, there are videos. Actually, the videos might be where it says videos, if we've done it right. And also any trainings that you've not been on, obviously, because you're new, those are all on the YouTube channel. So I'll have Ellen send out an email with a current update of the YouTube channel. But I also think if you look up Wendy Hartman, I think you'll find them. As somebody did the other day, they texted me and asked, and I said, try just my name. And they did, and they're like, yep, I found it. So on my YouTube channel is all of our New Horizons trainings, Zoom trainings, our Q&As, along with our actual nights like tonight. So check those out, because those might be helpful. And hours of enjoyment listening. Yeah, I think I'm funny. I don't know. So in regards to training outside of your home, like with PetSmart or something like that, that I believe has to wait until their dog has had all their shots. So that has to wait, but you don't have to wait for that time. You should start, I'm sure you have, but you should start now. I mean, so you start with a couple of the basics, and then, you know, you get some formal from either PetSmart, Petco. Those are decent. And then, or if you have I know we have a couple of training organizations here in the area. One is Pawfection Training. I've gone to them. They're pretty good. I like them. They do a lot of agility, which is fine, but they also incorporate actual basic training. So I like them. And they've done a lot, worked with a lot of our dogs. So if you're in this area, that's a possibility. But if you're not in this area, you'll just need to look at what's local and what works for you. If you are in the West Palm Beach area, Sean, one of our former one of our former trainers, he is willing to help people with New Horizons dogs. I don't know if he'll take you on as a full-time client, or, you know, customer, whatever, but he will work with you if you're having certain issues. So those of you in West Palm, I know he's available and willing to do that. Let's see what else. Okay, so I had been asked to talk about just what a rotation looks like for those of you that just went through one, and kind of where your dog is, blah, blah, blah. So our dogs go out in two different ways. They go out, one as a puppy at 8 weeks, and they also go out as a prison pup. So if they go out as a puppy at 8 weeks, you get that pup and you keep them until, it used to be 6 to 8 months, approximately. Now, because of COVID and we're a little bit behind, it's getting to be a little bit longer. We're hoping to shorten that back up, only because when they're with you for a long time, we get, you know, the longer they're with us, the more we get attached, which is not a bad thing. It's just, it gets hard when you go to let them go, when you release them. So it used to be around 4 to 6 months. Now it's about 6 to 8 months. And it could be for some of you, I know you've had dogs longer than that. So I can't give you a specific, yes, at 8 months, your dog will get rotated. I can't do that, because right now it's up in the air. You might have your dog well, the dog will be 6 months old. You would have had them for 4 months, because they're 2 months when you get them. So maybe at 6 months, they'll be like, okay, we're ready to do a rotation. So it could be 4 months. It could be 6 months. It's not set in stone, partly because of the rotations in and out of prison. We're trying to work all those out. So then, but once your dog does leave you, it goes into prison. If from the puppy goes into prison, it actually goes to prison. I was trying to explain this to my students today, and they're like, no, but it doesn't really go to jail. Yes, your dog actually goes to prison and is placed with an inmate. And that inmate has been trained to work with our dogs. They know the commands, and they do a wonderful job of it. And they stay there for about 6 to 8 months, or 8 or 10 months. It varies. And then after that, the dog comes out again and goes to another raiser. Usually the dogs do not come back to you. And there's a reason for that. Lots of reasons for that. But the biggest is because we want the dog to have another experience. So if you're thinking, oh, when the dog comes out of prison, I might get them. Doesn't normally happen. Okay. Once in a while, we have a situation where if we need somebody to take a dog and you happen to have been their raiser, that might happen. You might get them for a short time, but normally that's not a thing. So then they come out of prison, they're with the raiser again for a while. And so they do that flip-flop back and forth a few times until they're at the age or readiness of going into our advanced training program. And our advanced training facility is in West Palm Beach. And the dogs are there for 2 to 4 months. And then after that, so this whole time, New Horizons has applications coming in that they're looking at, and they're looking at who these dogs who are going to be ready are going to be placed with, and then they make a match. And then the people who have applied for a dog and are going to get one, they have to go through a thing called team training. So, and team training even looks different right now. So, but the dog meets their person on the second or third day, and they begin to start the bonding process. And once the person finishes with team training, well, they take them home before the end, but they take them home or back to the hotel, whatever it happens to be. And they just begin to get to know each other. And then at some point that team goes home and that dog's been placed. You might get to see the dog again at graduation. Now, we haven't had a graduation since 2019, and that's been because of COVID. So just know, though, that at some point you will get to see that dog again, or at least get information about them, because we know that raisers like to know, how's my dog doing? You're not going to get it all along the way. It's just we have too many dogs, and and that's very time consuming. There's not enough people out there to do that, to let you know every step. But I can tell you the process, just so you know it and you have it in your head, okay? And not only that your dog is being very well taken care of and being checked on often. There are trainers that are going into the prisons and working with the inmates, and the dogs are being prepared to do something great for somebody someday.
Wendy,
Yes,
can I say something?
you sure can.
Our prison systems are really interesting. It's more like a dorm situation. It's not what you see on TV, the individual cells, and they have access to the outside. They have big play yards. One prison, there's 2 guys. It's an open unit, so 24 guys live in a unit, but the individual doors are not locked. One of the old inmates has done beautiful murals and artwork on all the dogs on the walls, and all the dogs' names are listed on the walls that have been through there. The prison down in Miami, my Dade is an over 60 population, and they also were in a dorm unit. I had to get on the guys at Sago recently because they've been overfeeding. We have to yell at them all the time to tell them they're not allowed on the beds. They do spoil them rotten. The women are really bad at spoiling them, but they do a really great job at training too, because they have a lot of time on their hands and they're very dedicated. I have a list from one of the inmates that has been involved in the program since day one, and he just sent me a whole list from exactly what date he got that dog to the late date he left it, and wanted to know where every one of his dogs has been. And he's got a list of about 20 dogs. So, when you think your dog's going to prison, it really is a positive. I just was looking at like a dozen thank you notes from the women, thanking us for the opportunity to do this. And, one of our trainers down in West Palm right now is one of our ex-inmates. And they really do take this very seriously, and it changes their lives too. So, okay. Any other questions for me about the prisons? Laura?
No, I was just gonna say that we have the opportunity for those of you that have just gotten prison pups to take a picture, embed it in a Word document, and write a note that says, hi, not your name, nothing about you.
You can
But
put your name, just not how to reach, you know.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you could say who you
generally
are.
speaking, no personally identifying information about yourself. And the picture isn't of you, it's of the dog. The inmates can't really get pictures. Apparently, one of our ex-inmates was telling me that they can't, once a year, they have a picture day where if they have money, they can have a picture taken if
Are
it's
you
okay.
sure? Who
Yeah,
told you that? I'll
Sean,
check. Really?
that
I'll check
one,
I'll check into that too.
well, but in the meantime,
Yeah.
we can send letters, and this is not you sending the mail to the inmate. You can send the email to me and I'll get it to the office, or I'll print it and we'll get the appropriate prison liaison, because you may not know which prison they came from. I don't necessarily know what prison they came from, but we can figure it out and we'll get them in an envelope and get it sent to that prison, and we'll get them distributed to those inmates so they have a picture of the dog that they just left. Or if you just sent a dog to prison, you could do a note to say, hi, I'm Wrangler and I am a big appetite. I like to move. Balls are my favorite thing in the whole world, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. Positive, upbeat. What is your dog good at? Don't focus on their negatives.
They need to know what they need to work on.
But it's not, this dog is terrible. They really need to work on their loose leash walk. That's important information. Or this dog will lose its mind if it sees a squirrel. That's a safety tip. If you're training Conan, you need to be prepared for this dog to go for a squirrel. So just the kind of the basic introduction, things that you would like to know about your dog when you get it, that you may not. This dog really doesn't care about balls, but they'll lose their mind if you tug with them. Those kinds of things. And those letters can mean the world to the inmates too, because it's pictures of their babies. I have more pictures of puppies than I do my grandkids, and I don't know exactly what that says about me, but I'm a bad grandmother.
Oh, yes.
Can I ask a really quick question about gifts to letters to the prison? Before Christmas, I think there was probably a number of people who sent some like care packages or letters and pictures, just as like a Christmas greeting type of thing. Did they ever make it?
I know that the Christmas things did, the letters did. I don't know about any care packages.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly is okay to go into prison, but I
Yeah.
know letters are okay, and there's no problem with that. Anything else, we'd have to go through the executive director to get a clearance on. I don't know that.
Okay.
We can take in treats, we can take in toys. We can't take food and things in for the inmates, but we can bring anything in for the dogs. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
you. Somebody asked too, is it usual for a dog to go back to prison a second time? And it does happen pretty often. Sometimes it's just kind of a 30-day, well, they go to prison to kind of shape up before they go to advance, or there may be a case where there's not a spot at advanced training yet. So they may go to prison for a little bit while that advanced spot clears. But don't think it's a reflection of, oh, it's remedial, my dog is terrible, it had to go back to prison. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes they need a little more work.
Can I just share real quick? And Janet, I wanted you to know this too. When we were in Daytona for the last training at the mall, I went to Buc-ee's with Conan afterwards because I wanted to check out a Buc-ee's. But a guy stopped me in there, like a random guy, and started asking me about Conan. And he said, oh yeah, I used to work with New Horizons. And I said, oh, that's cool. And then I just kind of thought he worked, you know, and at the Orange City location, but it turns out he's actually a former inmate. And he is now rescuing dogs because he learned so much, and it was like he said it was the best experience. And because he learned so much, that's like what he does now. And I guess he got out like 4 years ago. And
Wow.
Janet, he told me to tell you that Fat Matt says hello. I don't know if you remember who that is, but it was Fat Matt.
I'll take your word for it. I'll check with this person, but yeah.
But anyway, it was really nice to hear how it was
Yeah.
such a great experience for him too.
It really is. It really, you know, every one of them, I can't say every one of them. If they do something wrong, they get kicked out of the program. But it really does make such a big difference to these people. You know, a lot of these people have never experienced unconditional love. They've not had that. It's just, I've had the guys tell me that it's made them better parents. It's made them better fathers. They've worked together as a group. They learn how to do things for others. Their families are now proud of something they're doing. So there's a lot of benefits.
Two of my sons worked as corrections officers, not in Florida, but in Oklahoma, and they had a dog unit. And the corrections officers loved getting the assignment on the dog unit, because those inmates know that if they don't follow the rules, if things aren't like they're supposed to be, they risk losing their dogs, and they don't want that to happen. So they have to be specially trained and specially vetted, to not vetted like dog vets, but you know, selected to be a part of the prison pup program. And so these inmates, for some of them, it's life changing. And so these dogs are changing lives from the time they're 8 weeks on up.
Yeah. Yes. So anybody else? We ready to move on? Yes. So I just wanted to cover that because I had a couple of questions about just what the process was. Anybody that's new, I know I just take it for granted because I've been with New Horizons for 12 years and I just know the process. And I know that because of COVID, we're a little behind. And so, but I know people who are new, I remember, well, and my first dog, we do it differently now, but then I was very concerned, where is she going? Who is she going with? Is she going to be okay? And you know, I'm sure I was more of a mess than she was. So they're fine. They do very well in all, wherever they end up in their phase of training. So somebody asked about toothbrushing. So I know you have a puppy, I think. Wakava is a puppy. I have to tell you, I mean, I don't brush puppies' teeth because they end up falling out. I give them things to chew on, nice bones to chew on, so that they can gnaw on that and work their teeth with that. But their puppy teeth end up falling out. So, and I don't really brush the prison pup's teeth either, once in a great while, but I do try to provide excellent bones for them to chew on. If I see there's a problem, some tartar starting, then I will. But that's kind of, I don't brush my dog's teeth on a regular basis. So
it's not a terrible thing because they get used to having their mouth handled.
Right.
So if you just want to stick your finger in there and rub around every now and then, or put a washcloth and just kind of let them chew on it, and that's great. But so that they are used to, okay, show me your teeth.
Yes.
It makes if there's an injury easier. If you see blood, they don't freak out when you're trying to lift their lip to look, because they're used to you messing with them like that.
Yeah. Yes. Now I do that. I play with their mouth a lot. I stick my hands in their mouth. I pull on their teeth. I do all of that. And yes, and I stick my finger down their throat. If I think they've eaten something that they shouldn't, don't be afraid to do that. I've had a couple of dogs who like socks, and they get a hold of one of my socks and I realize they have my sock and I'm like, oh my God. And so I go and I stick my finger like literally down their throat and get a hold of the sock, and out it comes. They've also thrown it up in the past, but so don't be afraid to do that. But yeah, so I do play with their mouth a lot. I just don't tend to brush specifically their teeth. I think about it, but I don't do it. And I do use bones. So I use Nyla bones, I use Bam bones. There's quite a few really good bones out there that are really good for their teeth. Helps to keep them clean. So if you can find those and use those, that's helpful. And it keeps them from chewing things they're not supposed to chew, like your socks.
In theory.
Yes, in theory, that's true. Yeah, Wilson carries out the towels from the bathroom. He doesn't chew them. He just carries them out for me into the kitchen or living room and says, here, you want a towel? All right, so we already talked about grooming dogs. We talked about checking the mats. Does everybody know you've maybe this is your first golden. Are you familiar with what mats are? Anybody not?
I'm seeing a couple of head shakes.
Okay, so mats are just where the hair has bunched all together and kind of gotten in a knot. And it gets under their, especially Goldens, under their ears, under this area here. And so it's real important that you like lift their ear up and brush under here, because once one starts, it takes a lot to get it out. So sometimes I use a brush, and not a brush that it almost looks like a comb, but it's really a brush. And sometimes I'll use a comb and I'll just pick through it until I can comb through it. I try not to cut them. I try really hard not to cut them. Every so often, I did have a dog come from not from New Horizons, but he came from somewhere, and I went and picked him up, and he did have, his belly was matted. And so there was a couple on his belly that I did have to cut, but we try not to do that. We try to work them out with a comb or a brush. So that's why it's important. If we're brushing on a regular basis, then we're not going to have an issue. The labs don't really have that problem. It's more the Goldens. And then on their back, especially if you have a dog that has a lot of floof. So Quinn has a lot of floof on her, underneath her tail. It's just all this hair. So I'm constantly having to brush that area so that she doesn't get matted. And then, like we said, under their bellies, but it's just a whole bunch of hair that kind of gathers together. And then as time goes on, like they get wet or they get slobbery, and those hairs the mats get worse and worse and worse. So just, the minute you start to feel them under the ear, if you're combing them or brushing them out every couple of days. Laura, do you happen to have a brush that you use? Because I think most people think of a regular dog. You don't have any, do you? You're not home. I'll try to get one. I'll try to get one to show you, because there's a difference between a couple of the brushes that I use. Hold on. That's what I have a husband for. I'll just text him and say, need dog brushes. And he will bring them to me.
Or tell me what the next topic is, and you can go run get it, and we can move.
Oh, he should come, he should get them. So just be aware of that. It's mostly behind the ears. It's mostly in the butt area, and it's mostly between the legs and their armpits. Okay. So just be checking those on a regular basis. If you have a problem with one and you're not quite sure what to do, let somebody know. Can we use the thinning shears on the tail feathers? If you know what you're doing. I mean, if you can use, thinning shears, I have them. I use them. I use them a lot on Quinn. I used to use them on Hess a lot because he needed them. So, as long as you're not butchering them. Thinning shears do a nice job of thinning. For the puppies at this point, you shouldn't need them. Really, it's really as the dogs get older. Unless you find that when they're going to the bathroom, it's getting a lot on their fur. So mostly the thinning shears really aren't needed until the dogs get a little bit older. But every once in a while, it happens.
I have like a rake type brush and then a regular brush.
Yes.
So the rake's really good for those floofier areas.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. We talked about rotation. Oh yes, less food. Okay, so in training, especially as a puppy or when you're working with puppies, and when I say puppies, I say my thinking is under a year. Anything under a year is truly a puppy, although to me they're all puppies. So, but under a year, you can use treats. So, and the treats can just be their kibble. what you give them for breakfast or dinner. Doesn't have to be a food outside, you know, like this special treat. We do talk about high value treats. If you find your dog like isn't loading and you've tried kibble and you've tried this, you tried that, then we talk about high value treats. But what we're finding is that a lot of our dogs are very treat motivated. And so our request is that you begin to really think about how often you're using treats. And if you can do more training with your voice, you know, that your voice gets excited and you're really working more with your voice than treats, because we do have a lot of dogs who are going into prison or out of prison, and we're even trying to get the inmates to use treats less. Just, you know, working with your dog on a regular basis and maybe using treats every 5th or 6th time instead of every other time. The puppies, the little puppies, it's a little different because they definitely love to work for food. And, you know, they're 8 weeks old or 10 weeks old or 12 weeks old. But as we get up into the 4-month and the 6-month and the 8-month, we really want to back off on using those treats and use more of our voice. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Like why, what's the thinking behind? I think I explained it, but you know, maybe I need to clarify. You are awesome.
Thank you, Tim.
Welcome. Is that enough?
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you. Okay. So this is the brush that probably a lot of you have. It looks kind of like something like this, and you brush their coats so nicely. Okay. This will not get mats out unless they're real easy ones and they've just gotten in there, but they pretty much don't work to get mats out. This little rake thing is what I use to get the mats out. Looks like this. I love this. It rakes, it gets them behind the ear. It gets under their tail. It's wonderful. I use this on a regular basis. Quinn needs it all the time. And then sometimes I use this one this isn't really my best comb, but it's okay. And this will work if I have a really hard mat and I just want to start to work it out. This will work. This has really close together teeth, and that works really nicely. So you have to figure out what works for you. Like I said, if you're brushing your dog on a fairly regular basis, mats should not be a problem. If you're not, then it might be. So I saw somebody, what do you use to trim their paw pads? So these are my scissors, and they don't have a point at the end. Wait a minute, boy, they look like that. Yes, there we go. And this is what I use, and I just cut their pads at the bottom, right along the pad. Like I just trim their hair, and then hey, come here, buddy. Let me see if I can do him. Come here.
And she's not taking all the hair out because they need hair between their pads. But if there's hair that's covering the black part, it's like them wearing socks.
Okay.
And it's really slippery. Thanos is finding that in the snow here in Oklahoma, those hairs collect the snow and make little ice balls. If you're in something that's less than a lawn, they may pick up those little greenies in that hair. And then you see them picking at their feet. Here you go. Wendy's going to show you.
Can you see his paw?
We can.
So I would take these scissors and I would probably take them so that the part that curves goes toward his paw. And I'm just going to go just like this. And I'm just going to clip all his hair that's down there and make it so that the hair is not sticking out because he has a tendency to slip. So I would cut this all underneath here. Okay. And then on his paws where there's hair, I would start back here and I would just trim right around in the front of his nails. Look at you. Can you see? Am I doing it right? Can you see it?
Yep, you're doing well. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And then to combat Grinch feet, you just pull that hair up between
Pull
their
this
toes.
hair up like this, so it's kind of sticking out.
That we can't see. It's too low.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So this little, come here, buddy. He's like, what are you doing to me? See where the little Grinch part sticks up? So then normally I would cut from this angle. Unfortunately, I'm sitting weird, so I can't. So I'm going to go this angle and I just very gently feather it down. Yeah, there we go. So it just gets even right here. I didn't do a very good job because I'm sitting in a weird position, but let's see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There we go.
do it
That's
from the nail side up is
yeah, from the
easier.
nail side up is better. And so I just trim these. So I have these scissors and then I have the shears. Hang on. I have
I
these
like
thinning
those
shears.
curved ones with the blunt tips because I don't worry about them.
Yeah, these are my thinning shears. And so for Quinn, when she gets to, oh, thank you for the kisses. Yes, good boy. Oh, and yeah, so then I just cut the back end. So sometimes if this gets too fluffy, I might take my thinning shears to these a little bit and thin them out a little bit, but not a lot. I'm not going to butcher them. I'm going to do it so you can barely notice. Right? But your paw, yeah. But that's one thing I wanted to say when we go out in public, these little floofs should not, like their paws should be nicely trimmed so that they look presentable when you take them out and about. Right? Yes. Oh, thank you for the kisses. Okay, we're all done for now. You're gonna get really.
One other thing about presenting a professional appearance, if you have a pup and their vest is cinched up pretty tight because they're not full grown yet, get a piece of Velcro like you use on computer cords and just wrap it around that loose traily end so it's not just hanging and dangling. If you just fold it over, take the Velcro and wrap it around, then they don't have that distracting tail thing and they look professional. And it's a super simple fix.
Yes. Also make sure your vest, well, not your vest, but your dog's vest is not super tight either. We don't want them so tight that they're like, oh my God, this is killing me. So just, be sure and try not to let the black piece of the strap hang down. I think that's where the Velcro comes in. So I hope that was helpful in seeing Lucky Wilson getting a pedicure. Yes. Hope that helps in just seeing, how to keep them nice and trimmed up. And I usually go all the way around the whole edge of the paw so that there's no extra hair sticking out or anything. Okay.
And I do think some of the dogs really do have extra sensitive feet. We have a dog named Denozo, and he hates having his feet touched. He just doesn't like anything about it. And so it requires my husband and I, me with the scissors and him with kibble. And we just have him lay in there and Lamar feeds him kibble while he's getting his feet done. And he lays there and he gets this is his supper. And he gets his supper fed while I trim his feet.
Yep.
And it might take two people, but you distract them.
Yeah, if you've seen the video where they take the cellophane, they put it on their head and they put peanut butter there and the dog licks the peanut butter while they're doing that. That might work too. I have not tried that yet, but I have been real close. If you have a puppy, a young puppy, it's okay to try and Dremel. You just want to be careful that you don't go too far. But our dogs got Dremeled while they were at the Orange City facility. So if you can do that. If you have an older dog and want to try a Dremel, I don't Dremel my dog's nails only because we walk so much that I don't have to. I mean, their nails are low enough that I don't have to Dremel them. I just have to clean their hair, I just have to trim their hair. So, if you are deciding that because now you have a dog and you didn't have one before and you're going to do a lot of walking, then usually walking on the pavement does it for you. But if you want to try Dremeling, you can Dremel with those small puppies. You can Dremel with the older dogs. And some are going to hate it. You may just have to sit there with the Dremel in your hand and let it run. And like Laura said, maybe feed them something the first few times. You don't even try to Dremel. You just sit it with the noise on because it's a real weird noise. And some of our dogs don't like it, even though they started with it with puppies, because I don't think they use Dremels in the prison. So on your evaluations, when it says, do you Dremel? I mean, I say no, but my dogs walk a lot, so I don't need to. Their nails are nice and short. So it's not that Dremeling is a a necessity or you have to, but you have to be aware of your dog's nails and that they're not getting too long. So that's the big thing. Be aware of how long or short your dog's nails are, especially the puppies. The puppies, when you first get them home, they were used to being dremelled every few days. And now, so you want to make sure that they're kept short. So however you do that. And if you feel more comfortable taking them somewhere and having somebody do it, then okay, that's fine. Yeah, whatever.
And what Wendy mentioned, your evaluation, you should have gotten an email that said, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's time to do your evaluation.
Yeah.
It's a monthly thing for folks that have pups or prison pups. If you have a breeder, I think it's quarterly. It's not every month.
Right.
So if you haven't done it, it's the third, like I haven't done mine yet. Don't panic. Go. There's no, I mean, it's not, they're not going to come after you. But it is really important that we get that information so that if there is an ongoing issue, we got it documented. It's a way for you to kind of check, oh yeah, well, what did we do this month? And it's a surprising thing. Make a screenshot of it so you can refer to it. And when you're looking at those evaluations of how are they doing, that makes it go a little faster.
Yes. And try each month at least to take your dog somewhere different that maybe you haven't experienced, that your dog hasn't experienced. So instead of like my normals are Publix and Walmart, those are the places I go. So I try to think a couple times a month, where's and church, but somewhere different that I haven't been, or that the dog hasn't experienced, just anywhere, whether it's, you know, going near a lake or just going somewhere different. So that's the goal, just to get them some. And I know a lot of you are taking your dogs great places and they're getting lots of wonderful experiences. So that's awesome. But if you're not, like I go to work, and when I get home at night, I don't always want to go back out. If I go, I make sure my dogs get out, but I don't always go very many places that are exciting. So I try to do something different. Like if I go to Publix, I might go and I might get in their little wheelchair carts and I kind of drive around with the dog with me. Or I might go and I might bang all of their recycling bins, just do something different while I'm at Publix. I always take the dogs to the weight things. That's where I weigh my dogs. And I know we've said this a lot of times, and I understand that Publix is considering taking them out. I'm in the process of sending a letter to them to say, no, please, we use them all the time. So good question. Who reads the monthly report? So it varies. Somebody in the office will usually look at them. And it may not be that the reports get read every month, but what's nice is if there's something is going on, they can go back and look at them and go, oh, look at this is a pattern. Like this is what's been happening with that dog. So you want to make sure that if your dog has a skin issue, or if there's things that you notice, oh gosh, I've noticed this happened this time and this is continuing, please put those things in the reports. If you're having trouble training the dog with something, that needs to go in your report, and make sure that you're including that. It's always nice too to include a picture. They give you a spot for a picture, so include that. And so Debbie, it varies. That question, it varies on who reads them. And when they get read. But that information is super helpful because we might have an issue with a dog at like 14 months and we go, oh, what's been happening prior to that? So yeah.
Janet, are you still on?
I don't think she
We've
is.
had a couple of questions. We've had a couple of questions about staffing, what time, when to get food, and is there, where to address questions or send emails.
So
I'm picking up most of the voicemails, getting back to people about food. The food pickup is still, we can still do on Tuesday and Thursdays. David's taking care of that. Ellen's normally in office late in the afternoon. But what we're doing is phone calls are coming in and then I'm sending them out to who needs them.
okay. And if people are going to email, should it go to you or should it go to the support email?
Either support or myself. I'm Janet at nhsdi.org.
And I did, okay, I did the Janet one, you did the support one.
Oh,
Ooh.
I just did the Janet one too.
But if it's something really important, I'm like covering umpteen email boxes right now. If it's something that you really need, go ahead and call me.
Okay, so yes, Liz, you have to schedule a food pickup. Yes.
If you just leave a message saying you're coming is fine. Tuesday and Thursdays.
Anytime Tuesday and Thursday after 8:30?
David and Sabrina have been staying home, staying there. If we know you're coming, if they have to do something like tomorrow, they have to run dogs to the vet. It's easier if we know you're coming, but we've been having a lot of people dropping in too. If you don't let me know, there's a chance that nobody's there to give you dog food.
Yes.
If you let me know, then I'm scheduling it, making sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
No
And
problem.
there are some of us who have little more flexible schedules, and sometimes we can run up and get it staged in Seminole County out of Volusia County, if that makes it a little bit closer for you. And I'm more than willing to do that when I'm local.
Yeah. And if we know you're coming, we can just set it, as long as you arrange to pay for it ahead of time. That's just the big thing. We can set it out and you can just come through and pick up. So.
Oh, okay. So what are our raisers in like Tallahassee and Gainesville and Jacksonville? How do they get food? Do they just order it?
Yeah, they just order it themselves.
Or if you come to Lake Mary for a training, let us know ahead of time and we can bring it to training, to the in-person training.
We have somebody in Jacksonville, St. Pete, West Palm that does the bulk ordering.
Okay, there's a question about how about administrative stuff like a letter for her high schooler for volunteer hours? Would that be to your attention, Janet?
Is it somebody that's done hours, is volunteered, or I'm looking for
this is for my daughter for 2021 when we had Samoa, and she's just looking for those hours so she can get them in for her National Honor Society induction.
Does she just need somebody to sign a form, or does she need an actual letter written?
She needs it on letterhead, unfortunately.
Okay.
Send it to me and we'll figure out something. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Janet.
I have letterhead here. And if you want to just write up what you want said, if you do a draft, and I'll just put it on letterhead and send it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Sorry.
Other questions? Okay, so I am going to show you a couple of videos. Should be fairly short. So I had the opportunity to be at Daytona Speedway last weekend. And so after the race was over, I worked on STEP, which is one of our commands. And one of the reasons that we use STEP is so that the dog that's next to us or next to their person is going like down. For me, I use it a lot down the stairs, and so that they're not rushing ahead of me or rushing ahead of me up the stairs. So I did these two quick. Wilson is real good at it. He pretty much stays right by my side. I think this is up. So hold on. First, I have to share my screen. Okay. Yep. Okay. And I go like this. Okay. Can you see that? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Oh boy. Step. 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 Yes. So it's basically just exactly what it looks like. Now that I'm watching it myself, I should have given him a little, I felt like I was, but now that I'm looking at it, should have given him a little bit more leash. And I don't know why I didn't, because he was doing fine, but that's something you want to make sure that you're not holding tight, pulling up on that leash. You want to let them know they're doing okay by giving them a little bit of slack. Let's see. Okay. I don't want to stop sharing. I just want to get rid of this video. There we go. Okay. All right. So that was going down the stairs. This one happens to be going up the stairs.
Challenge round number 1, driving car number 29 for Racing Team Nederland. That's Fritz Vandergaard, Gina Vandergaard, Renus VK, and Dylan Murray.
So the goal is to stop sharing, is to get them to walk next to you for each step and not to go ahead of you and not to be behind you, just to be right next to you. So I usually will find a staircase, and that's where I try to practice that so that they can actually, and sometimes I'll do a foot and they'll do a paw, and we'll just go right like that the whole time. So the goal is to just get them right beside you and not wanting to pull ahead, because very often that's what they want to do. But Wilson did okay. So I was very pleased. Now I noticing my own video, that's why it would be really, really helpful while you're training, just to videotape yourself, to listen to your voice, to see if there's, you know, enough excitement in it or enough, you know, if you've been firm enough, and just to watch the dog also. So for me, looking back at this, I saw there was a couple of moments where he was a little bit ahead of me. And one I noticed I pulled on his leash a little bit to stop him, and he got it, he understood. So those are just things. Videotaping is very helpful for me to see what I'm doing right and what things I need to fix. So, you know, you turn your your phone on and you place it somewhere, and you just, you know, give yourself a couple of minutes and then go back and watch it. And I find it to be extremely helpful. And if you have a training video that you think, hey, that's pretty good, send it to us because we can use it. It's good for us, all of us, to watch somebody else in the throes of training and to see what's going well and what we can all do better. Because I feel like, you know, I've been doing this a long time, but I always am looking to improve because I'm learning something new every day. And so, but videos are helpful, and I don't always want to do videos of me. It would be great if you guys would send me videos like, hey, this worked really well, and my dog really responded to this well. So I will take any videos. You can text them to me or email them to me. In fact, I'll put my number in the chat for those of you that don't have it, just so that you can use it. And I'll also give you, oops, come on, because those videos are really helpful to everybody. One thing I did notice recently about Wilson is that he does not like to have, he does not like you to grab him by the collar. So when I'm outside playing with him, and then I see that there might be somebody walking down the road with the dog, I know I have to get a hold of him. And so recently I went to grab him, and he was like, and part of it was because he wanted to continue playing and he thought I was going to take him inside. So he kind of backed up. So I started doing a little bit of research in my training notes of what I could do. And I actually found something that's called the collar grab game that I found in my notes. I was very happy with it. So basically it's training your dog to allow you to grab them by the neck or by the collar. And usually it's out of surprise. Like, you know, when you're, I don't even know where I know for me, I just am playing with them. And then all of a sudden, either I see a dog or maybe there's a car or something. And so I'm grabbing them to stop them from, you know, or maybe the ball went out into the road by accident. I don't want them following it, and I'm grabbing them. So Quinn doesn't mind it. She's like, oh, you got to hold me. But Wilson, I noticed, didn't like it. And so we've started to work where I don't do it all the time. It's supposed to be surprise. Okay. Like, you're not just going to grab a hold of your dog's collar quickly like that, unless you're like, you know, oh my gosh, I need to grab them. So it's, you serve them a treat. So you grab the collar, and while you're holding the collar, you deliver the treat. So you might be just out there playing, outside playing, and then all of a sudden you grab a hold of their collar, or even their fur, and it's the element of surprise, and then you treat them like, oh, good job. The goal is for most dogs, when you do that to them, what are they going to do? If you grab them by their collar really quickly and maybe pull them, what are they going to do?
They're gonna try to back away.
Yes, they're going to try to back away. And some dogs will actually, they normally couldn't get out of the martingale, but there might be a time when they could. So the goal would be to get them used to it being okay for you to grab them. I think it's a little easier to grab a golden than it is a lab. I don't know if it's the fur, I don't know what it is, but it's a little easier. So whatever you have, whatever dog you have, whatever breed it is that you're raising, you want to practice on, you want it to be surprised. So you're not going to go out there outside or wherever and do it 5 times. You might do it once and you might do it again. You guys who have puppies, this is a great time for you to do it with them because they're still little. And you just grab their collar quick, and they're going to be surprised. And then you just give them a treat for not pulling away from you. And that's the goal, is to ultimately get them so they're not backing away. They're not pulling out of that collar. And it kind of made me think of you, Val. I think you said that happened when you were on the plane with Conan. And I don't think he did it because I think he just was, whatever was going on right then. But I thought, oh, I wonder if we had been like, if that's something we've been working on, if he would have been okay with grabbing, because didn't you I think you grabbed a hold of his collar or his face.
Oh, I actually didn't really grab his collar. I just had the leash in my hand and it was loose, but then he jumped back so fast that it literally just came off.
Okay.
But obviously it was too loose. You know,
Right.
we've been
Yes.
walking all day and clearly it had become looser throughout the day. And I didn't check it before we got on the plane, and I should have. So
Yes.
lesson learned.
Which leads us to yes.
Somebody had just asked about sizing collars,
Yep.
so.
So let me, come here, Bob. So here's a collar, okay? And when you take this up to a V on their neck, you want to be able to fit your 2 fingers in between these 2, what are they called?
The dead ring.
Thank
dead
you,
ring.
the dead rings. These are the dead rings, right? Wait a minute, right there, okay? So when I pull the collar up on Wilson's or Quinn's neck, I want to be sure I can fit my 2 fingers in here. So normally we go through this at training, we check every dog's collar. Your dog's collar is not going to stay like this. We don't think once you do it, oh, I'm good. You literally have to check it every few days, especially the big dogs. Puppies, not so much, but the big dogs for sure, because it's really important that it be tight enough. And to you, it may almost feel a little tight, but it's really not. I don't leave my collar on the dogs when they go into the crate at night. I take it off. That's the first thing I do. They go into the crate and I take it off, just partially for safety, partially because I think about myself and how I don't leave my jewelry on at night. Like take my necklace off, my earrings off, something. He probably doesn't want that on either. So I don't know. I don't think dogs think like us, but.
And I leave my earrings in, and the dogs have their collars on, because when they come out in the morning, sometimes the morning is not the time to try. Where's the collar? Where's the lead? My house is not as organized as Wendy's, which is why we share raise. So the dogs are getting this experience of sleeping naked, sleeping not with their clothes on.
So I put this on, I take it off midnight, and I normally will either hang it on a chair or I'll put it right on top of their cage. So before they even come out, I'm like, wait, we open the gate and we stick it on them so they have it. But yeah, so you definitely want to be checking your dog's collar. You want to be sure it's, depending on, I have fat fingers, so I can do 2. You may have really thin fingers, so maybe for you it's 3. But these 2 dead rings should not be next to each other like that. They should.
You want the triangle.
Yes, you want a nice. I can't really do it right there. You go. There we go. Yep, like that. Okay, so excellent question. Brought up at a perfect time. Come here. Good boy. Yes.
Hey, Wendy.
Yes.
One of the things I just to be careful if you got more than one dog about them playing together with collars on.
Yes.
Did you? I didn't hear if you went over that. I'm just.
I did not. No, that's something I was going to talk about.
Goody. Okay, I'll be quiet then. Actually,
Okay,
one of our veterinarians, I had said it to a vet one day, and she's like, she kind of poo-pooed it until her two dogs got their jaws stuck on each other's collars and almost died.
Yep. Yep. Well, I had that happen. It was not a New Horizons dog. It was my own personal dog. I was not using martingale though. I was using where it's all the chain. And I actually ended up having my dog pass away. It was the worst experience ever, ever, ever. It was awful. It was just, I had a
The
laugh.
jaws get caught and then they get twisted and you can't get them untwisted. That's one of the reasons why we use the martingales that we do that have a clip.
Yes.
So if you ever have an emergency, you can unclip that collar
Yeah.
and not have to make it tighter to make it loose.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really a horror story. The collar got caught in my in my golden retriever's mouth. We weren't home. They were out. We had a doggy door. They were out playing and they both had, I never left their collars on. And this day I did, honest to God, I never left. And for some reason they got left on and we got home and well, actually my husband got home. He said, you need to come home right now. And sure enough, the one dog had choked the other dog. It was awful. It was horrendous. So ever since then, I take collars off at night. I take collars off. If they're playing at home and I'm not necessarily paying attention, take collars off then. Just so you're aware, it can happen. It's awful. So just, your dog is playing with another dog and they're, can get pretty rough sometimes. So I have 2, sometimes I have 3, sometimes I have 4.
Don't tell Tim.
So then they start playing. And so I have to be aware. And so, yeah, collars off is probably a good thing. Yes.
Watch your time.
I am. Thank you. So there was one other thing I wanted to do. Oh, so just really quickly, when we were talking about the collar grab game. So it's mostly just to get your dog used to you grabbing a hold of the collar and them not pulling back on you. Them just being like, oh, okay, she or he's got a hold of me, whoever. It's to get the dog, the purpose of the game is to get the dog to focus on you and to get the dog comfortable with a collar grab in case of an emergency. It's really about an emergency. Something happens that you need to grab the dog. Say you're in your home and you have the firefighters come in or EMT come in and suddenly you realize, oh, I got to get hold of this dog. I mean, it's really about an emergency. So you grab the collar, you deliver the treats, and you especially deliver the treat. You're looking for that dog not to be pulling away from you, just to be a natural thing. Yep, I grab you. So like Quinny lets me grab her with no problem. Wilson, I'm working on. You never know when you may have to suddenly grab your dog with or without his collar. So maybe do one session every day. It's not something you're going to spend 10 minutes on. You're going to be outside playing or even inside. And that's the thing. You want to change things up. That's also, and I'm sure all of you are doing this, but when you're training, be sure you're changing it up. You're doing it in different places. Like you're not always doing it in your living room. You're not always doing it in your bedroom. You're not always doing it outside. I train from the bathroom. I train from my couch. I do it in the kitchen. We'll go out in the garage and do it. So just be mindful of those training places because your dogs don't generalize. And especially the puppies, we want them having all of these different training spots where they're learning these different things. So if you're teaching your dog sit, have them sit in the kitchen and then they sit in the bathroom and then they sit in your garage and then they sit outside. So they're sitting everywhere. So they get it. Whenever you say sit, it means sit, not just in the kitchen. So that's something really important. If you're practicing in one spot, okay, like this is our training spot, change it up, make it different. And your dog will be much more successful. Also, end all of your training sessions on success. If you're struggling with a command, go back to something that the dog does well and end on a high and not a low, because that's important for your dog that they know they've done something right. And I know it's 8:18 and you guys have stuck with us and I appreciate it. We appreciate all of you very much. Remember, our next in-person training is here in the Central Florida area in Lake Mary. We will be meeting the Chick-fil-A cow and the Chick-fil-A cow's coming out. And that's one of the things our dogs have a really hard time with. I know a lot of you who are not in this area are not gonna be able to make that. We'll try to we'll get pictures for sure. And, but that's something to be aware of. You know, maybe you have a Chick-fil-A in your area and you know the cow's going to be out on a spirit night or something. Just go there and sit with your dog and let them experience the person, you know, or if you know someplace in your area that has somebody who dresses up, let your dog experience that, because that's one of the things that our dogs sometimes have a real hard time with. So just be aware of that. Laura, anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody. Please check your newsletter. If you've left all the messages that you're supposed to, that Laura got, then my number's on there. If you need something, you can text me, you can email me. Also know that if you have a medical problem, please reach out to the office. Don't wait, because we want to keep our dogs safe and healthy and well. And happy February. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. It's coming at some point. I don't know. I don't really like Valentine's. Did I just say that? I did. So that I think that's it. Unless anybody has any questions. 9 new messages. Holy smokes.
Wendy,
Yes.
can I just ask about the black dog head halter?
Yes.
I have Cassian, and he's typically getting excellent in every place, but he still has a big flight response with loud noises. And like the example was, I went to a store the other day and I didn't realize they were doing construction on the other half of the building, or forklifts and everything. And he had such a flight response that it was hard for me to keep him under control in the parking lot. Like I did, I made him sit, and we had to sit there for a while, and I had some treats, but he won't take treats during those times when he's in that like high stress with those scary sounds. And I just didn't know if there was a head halter that I could try to use to habituate him so that I could just have better control of him in those moments.
So that's always a last resort, Nicole, to be quite honest with you. The goal, so one of the things I would try, if you know that it's basically like loud noises, unexpected noises. That's
so you know, we did he went to a conference with me, and there was a forklift at one point. So every time we were in that area where the forklift used to be, he would start to pull. You know, I'd make him sit, and we'd have to wait. But if it's an unexpected, like I'm not aware that it's going to be there. So that was that instance. You know, he's still a little leery about fire trucks, but we go to a fire station now. So
good.
You know, all those are getting better. I was able to get him on a bus. He rides a bus, but it's just if you know, I'm leery to take him back to an area where I know there's a lot of noise to work on habituation, because I have a hard time keeping him under control in those areas.
So maybe you need to start making loud noises at home.
Yeah, I have a recording of like construction noises, but it's in conjunction with the big equipment. So that's because like I've been on my phone, on my computer, like turning on this like construction noises and forklifts dropping stuff. But so the noises aren't bothering him. It's the big things that are accompanied with it. So I was going to try far away with really high value treats.
Okay.
Work closer.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if that's going to be my first step, but I'm
take that first step first. In fact, you could even feed him. Take him to a place where you know there's going to be those big things, and take his dinner with you.
Okay.
Yes. So that he equates that with, okay, I'm by this big thing. Yeah. But I would still continue to play the loud noises. But if it's the big thing, you're definitely going to have to
it's the big things, because like I play sirens at home, and when sirens go by, he doesn't care anymore. But if we're next to a big fire truck, you know, he starts getting real skittish.
Okay, so I would definitely do that, but do it with food. To take his dinner with you, breakfast, whatever time of day. And let him eat it right there.
Thank you.
But definitely try that first. And if over time that doesn't seem to be working, then let's see what else we can do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Anybody else? Okay, so we do have a Q&A that'll come, is it at the end of the month, Laura? I think it's the end. after the in-person training. Thank you to everybody. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have a question. Don't let yourself get frustrated. Reach out to somebody. If you call the office and you can't get a hold of somebody, you have just put my number, it's in the chat. I'm more than willing to help you if I can. Usually I can answer most questions. If I can't, I know where to refer you. So please don't allow yourself to get frustrated. You guys are doing a great job and we cannot do this without you. So thank you so much. And we will see you next time.